Talk of the Town is up and running in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, USA. I'm Scott Montesano, and this is where the Chippewa Valley comes to talk. A pleasant hello to everybody out there. Our final Thursday in the month of August, and you can tell we're making the transition into the fall calendar and into the more annual patterns that everybody has. The schools have opened up this week, and some schools actually have classes this week, but for the most part, you've got a lot of the welcome back events that are happening for schools, orientations, and the such. What did I see? McDonald just had their family night. I know many of the Eau Claire schools have welcomed students back to look for their lockers and orientations for the kids that are moving up into a new building. Obviously, sports are going on, and for people that are beyond school or don't have school or anything of that nature, you too are seeing patterns that are changing. The social clubs, the civic clubs start meeting more. People you know around town are available a lot more. People usually don't take a lot of vacation in September. So we're getting back into the patterns, and once you get past Labor Day, which, by the way, this year truly is a holiday because September 7th is my birthday. You will all be celebrating my birthday with a day off on September 7th. Once we get past Labor Day, then you really are into the pattern. And I was talking to a couple of other people about this, and you hear me say it every single year. And these are people that ranged in age from middle-aged, like I am, and then also someone who is of college age. And both agreed with me, and both, I don't want to say agreed with me, we all agreed because they had thought of this independently, but the idea that this truly is the new year. Yeah, January 1st on the official calendar is the new year, but this is when you go from that summer schedule that you had into the pattern that you're going to really take from September through probably through May, if not into even a good chunk of June. So away we go. August is behind us in a few days, and then we really get into the pattern of the fall. And boy, you can kind of get a hint of it. I don't want to say it's cold outside. Oh, it's absolutely not. It's gorgeous. But you can sense a little bit of a bite in that wind coming from the northwest. You can get the hint of it. The hint of it. It's coming. Before we get too deep into today's episode, when you have time, and by golly, you always have time with me and all of our great podcasts, but when you carve out a little more time, check out our latest article from our friend Willow on our website. Go to the news page on our website and check out the newest article. She caught up with Aaron with Decky, Downtown Eau Claire Incorporated, covering a range of topics. The annual Fall Festival is happening in just a couple of weeks in downtown Eau Claire. They cover that. They cover what is still a new normal for Decky, and that is the fact they're no longer a quasi-government agency. They are entirely on their own. And, of course, downtown parking comes up as well. So check out Willow's article with Aaron, the head of Decky, Downtown Eau Claire Incorporated. Check out that article. You can find it on our website. Just click on the local news icon at the top of the home page. Something else that's going to be happening in a few weeks. In the last 24 hours, I have agreed to go to 2 breakfasts in October. those who are fans of the now 20-year-old movie Anchorman. Remember the scene where they go, it's the pancake breakfast. We do it every month. Couple of breakfasts are happening in October, and I'm excited to go to them. There's going to be one put on by the Chamber, and you better believe I did agree to go to these because they're free. I'm not gonna lie. I get a breakfast and I get a presentation. By all means, I'll jump on board. And I know these are not presentations to try to sell me a timeshare. In fact, they're not even going to be presentations to sell me something other than a feeling and an idea, an ideology. But there's going to be a breakfast put on by the Chamber at CVTC, get an update on local education. But there's also one that I was invited to with the Blue Golds, who are doing what they're calling these, and they're going to have a bunch of them, these community leadership breakfasts. Well, you better believe I'm a leader in this area. Play my pipe and the people follow behind me. They're going to do a breakfast, and at first I said, I was like, no, I'm not going to go to this thing. I think a lot of people know I still have a lot of hard feelings over the way things went there, but they specifically want me to be there for this, so I'm looking forward to going to the Blue Gold breakfast in early October, and check out that, in which they're going to apparently talk to me and some other community leaders about what can Blue Gold Athletics do to better communicate with the public. Boy, the Blue Golds are either the Blue Golds are letting the rooster in the henhouse, having me go there, or I've been duped and finagled by a free breakfast, and I'm going to end up turning into being a chipmunk surrounded by venomous snakes. Either way, I'm going to eat. Either way, I am going to eat. All right, well, the big news in the area happened on Wednesday, and that is the Lily Peters case has been finished. Carson Peters Berger, her cousin, has been sentenced to 25 years to life. His defense, they had pushed for 20 to life, but 25 years to life is what he ultimately got. Quick rehash of the story. I think by now most people know it, but you just need a quick refresher, if you will, to fill in the gaps. April 2022, and don't forget that, April 2022, 10-year-old Lily was reported missing on a Sunday evening. All the King's horses, all the King's men came to Chippewa Falls to try to find this young girl. Sadly, her body was found the next day near her home, near the creek, near Leinenkugel's in Chippewa Falls. Carson Peters Berger, then 14, quickly admitted to raping and killing her. Since then, we've had a series of various procedural court and law situations ahead of an anticipated major trial later this fall before we ended up having this resolution. Carson pleaded guilty to murder with other charges dropped, but they did factor into the sentencing from Judge Stephen Gibbs. They did have the requisite impact statements from people leading into the sentencing on Wednesday. 3 family members spoke for Lily. You also had a community member, which I did not see from anybody in the media say who it was, just say community member. And I asked a couple people today, do you know who this was? And they weren't familiar with it. But a community member also spoke, which Carson Peters Berger's defense attorneys did vocalize disagreement with. They were against having the family member speaking is common. That's common procedure. To have somebody not connected with the case at all, just a community member, that's a little bit different. But this community member talked about how the community was gutted by all of this and the impact to the community having the case as it was. I'm not too sure I agree with Judge Stephen Gibbs in allowing this. It's rather unorthodox, but it's a very, very small aspect to this whole thing. It's not worth really having any more of a discussion than a passing mention, if you will, and maybe store it away if another situation comes up down the pike, and then you can pull this one out and remember what happened in this case. But that's for another time. Either way, the case is resolved. Carson Petersberger, who has been in custody for the last number of years, juvenile facility, does get this adult sentence, will go to state jail, and that's where he'll spend the next 25 years. He'll be eligible for parole when he is in his mid-40s. Now, the district attorney for Chippewa County, Wade Newell, makes a great point in which you got this, what was never really described as a plea deal, but it is a plea deal. It was never, that term was never used a lot. They kept using the term of it's over. An agreement was made. But it's a plea deal, is what it is. Wade Newell makes a great point. If this had gone to trial, there's no guarantees that you would have gotten this result, which is 25 to life. Any number of things could have popped up that would have prevented the jury from giving even a guilty verdict. You never know what could have happened procedurally. All right? Basically, what you took was the guaranteed points. All right? Hey, we're going to take the field goal. We're not going to go for the touchdown. Okay? And the field goal is good enough to win, is what it was. And this sentence is pretty much what you could have wanted. It's a win-win. I know there's some people that go, well, he could have no chance for parole and all that. That wasn't realistic either. 25 to life. So this, I know going into this on Wednesday, a lot of people were skeptical. A lot of people, I think, were anxious and nervous to find out what deal was made that got this ended before trial. Is it going to be a light sentence? Is it going to be a light agreement? What the agreement was Carson Petersberger admitted to first-degree murder. Now, no agreement was made with, say, the judge. That's up to the judge for the sentencing, but both sides were pretty much in the same ballpark as to what the sentence should be. Hence the reason you had this arrangement that came forward. Now, the only thing we lose in the area is, with blood dripping from the corners of our mouths, the sensationalist trial. All right? And from a sadistic, the furthest reaches of your body, everybody's got a little bit of, let's be honest, a little bit of evil, a little bit of rubbernecking. Everybody's got a morbid curiosity, an evil curiosity to, a trial would have been maybe cool. Ultimately, it probably would have been one of those things that you thought would have been cool and then you quickly regretted it. Like that adventurous eater friend of yours who decides to order a whole octopus when they're on vacation somewhere near the coasts. It sounded like a cool idea. Sounded like something you'd like to put on social media. Then you realize you've spent a lot of money on it. Then it's right there and you go, oh, it's real. Now it's gotten real. The idea is a lot better than the actual reality that is there. So the only thing we lost was the potential, or what was going to be, a trial, and probably a very sensationalized trial that would have not been like the movies. This wasn't going to be like the great early 90s classic My Cousin Vinny. It was not going to be comedy, even though that trial, by the way, is a murder trial in that movie. But you were going to have pictures. You were going to have very descriptive language that was used. Now, Wade Newell brought up the point of, hey, we were able to get this deal, and this also prevents the family, which, by the way, is connected on all sides. Remember, this was a family member that committed this. It ends this for the family. They don't have to go through this. They don't have to have things said. It ends this. And that's the key to all of this. This had to end. It's finally over. In the sense of it is over for you and I and the community, other than the memories. For the family, it will continue on. It is always one of those great things you'll hear. Well, now justice has been served and the family can move on. Yeah, but it's always going to stay with you. It's a spaghetti sauce stain on that white dress shirt. It's never going to fully go away. Like a lot of things in our lives never fully go away. They impact and stay with us long after, in both good and bad ways. But you understand what we mean when we say this is over and it had to be over. This happened in April 2022, more than 4 years ago, and then it got slogged down in the court system. And there were things from Carson Petersberger's side that were sort of delay tactics, and their only ammunition, if you will, was to try to keep this in juvenile court. Because if it's in juvenile court, there's limitations as to the punishment. Once they exhausted all avenues to keep this in juvenile court, and it was going to end up in adult court, they really didn't have any cards to play. And for whatever, they kept trying to play little cards here and there. They tried to make sure that the trial wasn't going to be local, that it would be moved. They couldn't get that. And then once they tried, I don't want to say tricks like it is some shyster thing, but once they played all of the cards, because he had admitted to this, the evidence was overwhelming. Once that had happened, then this was probably going to be the ultimate outcome anyway for it. But all those court and procedural things that happened slogged everything down for 4 years. This has been there. Think of all the times over the last number of years we have had a Lily Peters case update, and it was, well, we got this. It's a small nugget of information we have, and the next court appearance was going to be in 6 months or a year. So this just sort of stayed there, lagged there. April 2022 is when this happened. To put it in perspective, the day she was killed, went missing and killed on that Sunday, the next day is when they found her body. It was in the morning, and I will remember this because it was in the morning, a Monday morning. The big story in the area was going to be the official groundbreaking for the Sonnentag Center. All of the Eau Claire Illuminati, if you want to put it that way, university and city leaders were over at where the Sonnentag Center is now, and were having what was a happy press conference. The gold-plated shovels and all of that, with construction crews behind them, and the building of the Sonnentag Center was beginning. But it got overshadowed, rightfully so, by this case. And now think, that puts it in perspective. The Sonnentag Center is about to be in its 3rd year of operation. The kids that were in Lily Peters' class, she was 10. Well, shoot, they're all 14, 15 years of age now. They're entering high school. They're in high school. That's how long this has been. This had to come to an end, and thankfully for everybody in the community, it is now over. And if you want to, and I talked to some people today, and I think everybody in town is sort of okay with how this thing has been resolved. 25 to life. I mean, do you really want to? you and I we don't study on a day-to-day basis legal law and legal precedent. I don't think there's really much more you could have hoped for in terms of there being punishment for the young man that did this, her cousin. I end it with this. I do hope that for the family that this doesn't become who they are. Now, it's been here for 4 years, but now this isn't like a cloud over them. I hope it doesn't become who they are. You'll always have this, as I said, a stain. But hopefully it doesn't become who they are, that people are still able to find joy. I hope this doesn't serve as a permanent roadblock for people in her family to ever experience joy. Because that's a horrible way to live. And if they haven't already, hopefully they've had the means and people have helped them out in terms of mental strength to get through this. And for the young man who committed this heinous act, Carson Petersberger, it sounds weird. Don't take this the wrong way. I wish him the best. All right? I don't know if he'll get parole in 25 years. I'm not sitting here rooting for or against that. But I hope that he's able to be a better person after this. That's all you can hope for right now. Made a horrible mistake. Made a horrible decision. Did a absolutely heinous thing that he will pay for his entire life. May he try to be the best person he can be from now, understanding that he's a lot of points behind and he's not going to catch all the way up, but give it a good go, man. Give it a good go now. This weekend, the Clearwater Jazz and Arts Festival is at the Brewing Project, so we wish people that are interested in that a good time this weekend. Jazz and Arts event this weekend at the Brewing Project. You know where I got to go that I really haven't, because my travels never take me around there, is the area in the Cannery District. I got to go to the Cannery District and see all of this work that was done on that area. I've heard nothing but great things. And it's funny, when you live in a community, you talk about all of the things you miss in other towns. Oh, I haven't experienced that in this part of the country or in this part of the world. But it's odd, even in your own backyard, and even if you get around a lot, like I do, there's always pockets that you are going to miss unless you make it an emphasis to go there. So I gotta get over to the Cannery District. And then another thing I wanted to bring up, story in Volume 1 that an Eau Claire playwright is having some success. A guy by the name of Jack Bushnell is having one of his works performed on stage in St. Louis this fall. And it's a real production. One of his plays he has written is now getting a full-on production and a real production. This is not him and a few people standing on stage in the basement of a church doing something. No, they've got a sounds so jokey to say, but it's a real thing. They got real actors and real playbills and real light technicians, and it's a real theater. But good for him. And he started his career by having short stories read at various restaurants and stores in the area about a decade ago, and kept writing various short stories, wrote children's stories, wrote some plays, and now he's had a couple of his plays picked up, one of them being performed on stage in St. Louis. He's had some staged readings of his works, but this is the first full-on production. Go into Volume 1 and read the story. One of my old workers, Evelyn Nelson, is actually the one who wrote the story. But it's fascinating in that it's not my world, playwriting, but I find it fascinating because it's a reminder that there are pockets of coolness in all of the homes that you drive by in our area. You look at this guy, Jack Bushnell. Now, will he go on to become the next Aaron Sorkin? I don't know. Probably not. This may be the peak for him. But you know what? that ain't too bad. All right? He already cracked the shell. He's eating the yolk. Okay? Good for him. And there's a lot of people in this town and in all the towns you live in who have experienced that moment of greatness. And they're not bitter over the fact that they didn't get to always live there, live in that greatness. They always had, but they'll always get a chance to experience that. Keep your ears open and your eyes open, and you'd be surprised the little stories you hear in the area of somebody that, hey, for performers, entertainers, and what have you, they once did X, Y, Z, and you go, oh, that's really cool. Even people that are in entertainment, business people that have had dealings with so-and-so and so-and-so, and they themselves have been very successful in the industry that they do right here in Eau Claire. Success and making it big is what you want it to be. Doesn't mean you settle. Doesn't mean you're fooling yourself into succeeding. No, 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 no. Success is very, very wide. It is very, very wide. It's not narrow. It's wide. And a guy like this Jack Bushnell reminds you of that. Look at that. His play, whatever this play is he has, and they talk about it in the article, it may be something you never see. It may never be that popular. And you know what? It may flop in St. Louis. I hope not for him. It may flop, but you know what? He still did it. He still got there. So good for him and good to all the people out there that continue to dream, and for those who have had that taste, if you will, of greatness. That taste never leaves you, does it? That taste never leaves you. All right. That'll do it for today's edition of Talk of the Town. Back with you on Tuesday. So enjoy the weekend. Back with you on Tuesday. On behalf of everyone who made this podcast possible, I'm Scott Montesano, saying there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. Make sure to take advantage of it. And until next time,